All right, everybody out there on YouTube and on gun channels with the simulcast. This is the right of the people, where we use the first to defend the second. Got a couple good topics for you tonight. I'm going to start off with what I think is a big due process win in the Western District Court of Pennsylvania. And then we're going to go to some a new segment I'm going to start called self-defense shoutouts, where we're going to recognize that people who have used firearms successfully in self-defense. First, I want to go ahead and go through the panel here. It looks like Night Strike joined us. How you doing tonight?
Had to jump in last minute, man.
Hey, that's all right. At least you're here.
Yeah.
Roll call. You surviving the cold?
Yes, I am surviving the cold. It is brutal.
Man, yeah, I know we were talking before.
There's still snow out here.
What's that?
There's still snow out here. It's thawing. It's defrosting or thawing slowly.
And you're in South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Did the state shut down?
Yesterday and the day before, yeah. But
wow.
today, not so much.
Wow. Well, that's good that things are returning to function.
Though there's still enough snow, if the weather is nice tomorrow, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to make a small smeggy, and I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to make a smeggy tomorrow.
Outstanding. I know my aunt lives in Hinesville, Georgia, and she showed a picture the other day of icicles actually off of her porch roof, something she hasn't seen since 1978 when she left Ohio. So it's awful dang cold.
We get snow once every like 10 years here in South Carolina. Wow. So because the last time we had snow, well, it was like 2008, 2009.
Wow. Well, we get it all the time, obviously.
Here's the thing. That time, it didn't last the day. This time, it's lasted a couple days.
Well, I know it was colder today in Savannah than it was in Anchorage. That's something. But, global warming and all that.
I hate global warming.
Out there in the YouTube side on the chat, looks like we got R.L. Swear, Rich White, Patriot in the Dark, Two Live Moon, Wheelchair Warrior, Big Racer. I want to say hi to all you guys. Thanks for coming. On gun channels, let's see. We have a chat room on gun channels. No, not yet.
Wait, you
right.
don't have one?
I don't think so. I don't see anybody in my chat room anyway.
Pretty sure we got.
Oh, G-Webs is there.
G-Webs is there. There you go.
That's all that we need, right?
Right.
All right. First thing we're going to get to tonight. I found this through a article on Gun Watch by Dean Weingarten. It says that it's dated Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. Federal District Court, simple involuntary commitment, not a disqualifier for Second Amendment rights. There's been a major win for Second Amendment supporters in Pennsylvania. On February 16, 2016, Alton C. Franklin filed suit in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. He contended that a prohibition against his ability to acquire or possess firearms because of a brief involuntary commitment in 2002 was unconstitutional. With a partial summary judgment in his favor and a resubmission in January 2017, Mr. Franklin prevailed. The law was not struck unconstitutional directly. Rather, the Pennsylvania law was ruled to be insufficient to meet the constitutional requirements, federal law of Section 922. I could go through and read this whole thing, but I'm not going to. It's a 33-page decision. You can find it on Prince Law. If you're into this kind of thing, I would highly recommend it. It is a good read for what these are. A little bit of background. The guy Back in 2002, he was playing a drinking game with a buddy. And you know how many stories start like that. He just had a recent breakup, and him and his friend were playing a drinking game where they would hit each other in the hands with butter knives. Well, he was all lacerated up and beat up, and said that he went to either went to a hospital or went to the police and said he needed to talk to somebody because he was very distraught and depressed over the breakup. He went to the officer then applied to have him involuntarily committed. Says that by completing the application, Officer Simmons attested that Mr. Franklin was severely mentally disabled and posed a clear and present danger of harm to himself or others. Officer Simpson's application indicated that Mr. Franklin had substantially mutilated himself or attempted to mutilate himself, and that there is a reasonable probability of mutilation unless adequate treatment is afforded. James Redmond, an official in the county administrator's office, reviewed Officer Simmons' application and completed a warrant for Mr. Franklin to be admitted to a medical facility for treatment for up to 120 hours. Officer Simmons then transported Mr. Franklin to a UPMC Bedford Memorial Hospital, where Franklin was involuntarily admitted for a mental health examination at approximately 1:50. Mr. Franklin's treating physician, Dr. Christine M. Pluto, observed Mr. Franklin's lacerated arms, opined that Franklin is severely mentally disabled and in need of treatment, and added that Mr. Franklin should be admitted to a facility designated by the county administrator, for a period not to exceed 120 hours. Dr. Pluto diagnosed Mr. Franklin with acute psychosis, and Mr. Franklin was transferred to Somerset Hospital at approximately 4 a.m. on September 22nd. Mr. Franklin was released from it at an unspecified time later that same day, i.e. September 22nd, 2002, with a total hospital stay of less than 24 hours. In the following years, Mr. Franklin obtained a bachelor's in criminal justice, a paralegal certification, and became a certified nursing assistant. He also became a corrections officer in the state of Kentucky, a job in which he was authorized to possess a handgun while in his official capacity pursuant to 18 U.S. Code 925. Mr. Franklin has since been terminated from that position. The termination of Mr. Franklin's employment as a corrections officer in Kentucky was, at least in part, due to the defendants, which would be the Justice Department, Attorney General. At the time it was that the suit was filed, it was Lynch, but now it's Sessions. So you can find this case under Franklin v. Lynch. If you want to look it up. Part 2, the defendant's actions and interpretations of law, because the correctional facility required that Mr. Franklin take his firearm home at night. On March 11, 2013, Mr. Franklin was informed that he was prohibited from possessing a firearm in a private capacity after he challenged the determination by the FBI National Instant Check System that he was prohibited from purchasing a firearm. Defendants contend that Mr. Franklin lost his private capacity firearm rights by operation of 18 Pennsylvania statute and blah, 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 blah. But Pennsylvania law, this section 302 that in the chat. On July 1st, Mr. Franklin petitioned the Bedford County Court of Common Pleas for relief statute. And on October 14th, the Honorable Travis Livingood issued an order finding that Mr. Franklin may possess a firearm without presenting a danger to himself or others. However, and the judge ordered that Mr. Franklin was fully relieved and fully given back his right to possess firearms. Despite receiving state relief, Mr. Franklin has refrained from purchasing, possessing, or using firearms in his private capacity because he reasonably fears arrest, prosecution, incarceration, and fine for allegedly violating 18 U.S.C. 922. Let's see. According to, confirming defendant's position on this issue, Philadelphia Division Counsel for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, in that regardless of his receipt of state relief, Mr. Franklin remains prohibited under federal law from purchasing, possessing, and using a firearm in his private capacity, or to possess and use firearms in his official capacity as a state corrections officer. See, this is why he lost his job with the Kentucky Bureau of Corrections, because they require that their COs take their firearms home at night, and he wasn't allowed to do that.
Okay, so can we recap? Shorten this down a little bit, because I think I've got a grasp of it, but I'm not sure. So did he get arrested?
So the guy had this involuntary commitment.
Okay, he was involuntarily committed.
2002, less than 24 hours, was released.
Okay.
They apparently felt that he wasn't a danger to himself. However, under that Pennsylvania law, he's prohibited from ever possessing firearms again, period. He went to court, got his rights back from the state, but the ATF is saying, no, you can't do it.
Well, then he needs to sue the ATF and the federal government for release of his rights back.
That's what this case is. He then sued the ATF and the federal government, the Justice Department, as I said, the original name of the case was Franklin v. Lynch. Now it's Franklin v. Sessions. He sued, and the Western District Court of Western Pennsylvania said this is wrong. You can't do this. Let me find the. However, the court is persuaded that by its own terms, Section 922G4 does not restrict Mr. Franklin's ability to possess firearms based on a brief health examination pursuant to Section 302 of the MPHA that was justified by only the ex parte decisions of a police officer, official in the county administrator's office, and a single physician. What they said, in effect, was that you must be adjudicated unfit to possess a firearm by a judge and or jury.
Right.
Not just some administrator's decision, a police officer's opinion, and a physician's opinion.
This is becoming a problem in our country, where they're trying to say, because some people get voluntary or involuntarily committed, that they believe that they have a disease that can't be cured. In some instances, it's just someone has accrued too much stress, or they're having a hard time coping with things that are going on. Sometimes with mental health, it's like a mental version of a cold. It can be
absolutely
cured. A lot of things can be cured, but the thing is, I've noticed in California, and I know we're back in California a lot, but even if you voluntarily commit yourself, to go and try and get help because you admit that you need someone to talk to, you need to get healthy, that even doing that will take away your gun rights in California.
Yep.
And now they're trying to do the same thing, all over with this, and they're going to use this case as a basis if they win to take away everybody's gun rights.
What this case says is that they can't do that.
Yeah.
It says that you must be adjudicated by a court. You cannot be adjudicated. You can't be found mentally incompetent by someone's opinion. It has to be a court. In other words, say where I think this is going to come into play to defend against. You remember that the Social Security stuff that they tried, where someone was if you had a financial payee that would manage your finances for you, then you were automatically disbarred. This would be a defense against that, because it's setting precedent that in order to be stripped of a constitutional right, adjudicated by a court. That's how I'm reading it. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn, but I can read, and to me, that's what this says.
Yeah. Well,
am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. But as I said, people need to start understanding and learning that some mental disorders, some mental sicknesses are exactly like, it's a mental version of a cold, or like, sometimes some of these mental disorders are, a version of, a cold, or say you got bronchitis, that kind of thing. Stuff that can be cured, but only if you get treated for it.
Absolutely.
But the problem is, a lot of these politicians that are making these laws are making it so that even if you have something that is curable, they want to take your right away from you for going and getting the help that you desperately need.
Absolutely right. They have been trying that forever. And
that's something I'm against. I mean, if you have the capacity to understand that you're having problems and you go and get help and then you get released and they give you a clean bill of health, you should be able to own whatever the hell you want.
Yep.
Period.
And frankly, I think that if you are as mentally unfit, you should be able to petition the court to have that overturned. Go back and be reevaluated and have the case revisited after a certain amount of time. Really, anytime that agree with this, but anytime you've lost your constitutional rights for any reason, to have it back doesn't necessarily mean you get it back automatically, but it should at least be looked at. If you do something stupid when you're 18, commit a felony, and 15 years later, 20 years later, you've led a model life, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to get your rights back.
In some states you can, like Arizona is a good example of that. There was one guy that did that, and he saved somebody's life because he got his gun rights back in Arizona.
Standing. I know that some places are like that. Really, I think everywhere should be that. It should be across the board. But in how do things ever work out how they should? It's very rare, frankly.
I'd say that a lot of these people that get elected into these positions, it doesn't matter state or federal, I think they need to go through a mental health check before they take office.
Oh, absolutely right.
But they won't do that because they don't want to admit to them having any problem.
Well, see, that's what scares a lot of these veterans away, from obtaining health care, because that stuff applies to veterans as well, especially veterans that have PTSD. Yeah. That's a good way to get firearms out of their hands. And I know a lot of veterans, and they just simply go to the VA hospital. But would they deem that some kind of committing yourself or whatnot? You never know. You never know what they're going to do.
I suspect that they'd try it.
Yeah, I suspect it too. Anything to keep a gun out of somebody's hand, they will try every measure to do.
I know a lot of guys over the years in the corrections field that have some measure of PTSD and had to put up with because of this. Won't do it because of this.
And it's sad that some people have to keep it to themselves and just work through it themselves and not get help, because if they do so, they forfeit their rights in some states or in some areas.
Yeah, exactly. They feel as, if I have to go get help, then I have to start giving up constitutional rights.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Second Amendment does not say if you get, mentally adjudicated, you cannot own a firearm. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay? That means don't fuck with it. That means you can't take them away from people unless they've done something absolutely wrong and horrible. Like a terrorist or a mass murderer. Yeah, take the guns away from those people because they're not upstanding citizens. They're criminals, terrorists. But a person that goes and gets help is barred from getting their being able to exercise their rights. That's a travesty.
Yeah, absolutely. One problem I've had in any of these states and any of these laws. As a matter of fact, I think California is a place where you can do this, and I believe it's either Washington or Oregon. It's protective order garbage where you can go and get anyone can basically, either a police officer or any family member, friend, acquaintance, etc., who thinks someone's a danger or has a problem, can go to the court and automatically get a restraining order that would cause not only you not being able to purchase firearms, but you would they'll come take your firearms straight from you with no due process, no court, no nothing, no any method of redress for this. It's horrible. There should be due process, period. I think it's protective order is what it is. The protective order, I forget the exact name for it, but basically I call it protective order confiscation because that's what it is.
Yeah, see here in my state, they passed a law this past year that, you know, if somebody can go and get a protective order, you know, if they're, you know, being abused in some way, whatever way that is, and they can get a permit for 60 days and they can carry for 60 days, and they passed that law. Well, you know, that on the back end, that restricts that other person that has that restraining order against them in obtaining a firearm. You know, yep. So anything like that, even a divorce, a divorce, you know, I think they automatically put a restraining order on you for your for the divorcees.
Yeah, in a lot of jurisdictions, you're right. They do automatically put a restraining order on you for a divorce. And again, yep, and unless your attorney knows what he's doing and is familiar with the laws on that as it pertains to firearms, might let that go through too. I mean, there are some places where you can negotiate that not be a part of the proceedings, but a lot of places it's pretty much de facto. They do it as a matter of course.
Yeah, they do it no matter what, unless you tell your lawyer, like, you know, listen, they're going to put a protective order on me, and, you know, I don't want them to come and take my firearms, you know, and I don't want to be starting to get denied because I have this stupid little restraining order for a divorce.
Yeah, because, you know, where one party in a divorce lies about another in order to get custody or get more money or anything like that. I mean, that doesn't happen, does it?
Well, at times.
YouTube chat, Philo is saying one more reason not to get married.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, no kidding.
Luckily, I'm not married, so I don't have to worry about that. I know some people are, so, you know, but you guys bring up a great point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another way for these people to take rights away and to dictate other people's lives, and it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, will set precedent. I'm interested to see if the government is going to let it stand, or if they're going to kick it up to a higher court. Frankly, I'd like to see them kick it up to a higher court. I'd like to see them appeal it and it go to a higher court and eventually work its way to the Supremes.
Well, the problem is the Supreme Court won't hear it. If it gets to the Supreme Court, they will decline to hear it because it's a firearm case, and they don't want to deal with firearm cases right now. Apparently,
I don't know why that is lately. It's, you know, since I think McDonald was the last one that they really dealt with, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's one of the guys on Gun Channels has said it's because they've got too much of a backlog of, you know, other cases to deal with. And I got to be honest, that sounds like the biggest cop-out I've ever heard. Oh, we've got all these other cases we've got to hear first. We can't hear any Second Amendment cases. You haven't been hearing Second Amendment cases for like the last, 10, 15 years? It's time to at least go over a couple. You don't have to make any determinations yet on them, but at least go over them, goddammit.
Yeah. I'd still like to see a case like this make it that far, though, frankly. Because it would have due process. I think that, you know, I keep going back to that due process, but that's right with the first and the second. You know, the whole due process thing is one of the most important rights afforded to us, but recognized by our Constitution. You know, that someone just can't, on their word alone.
But the fact that they have to make up laws and come up with laws that completely circumvent what's written in the Constitution is telling you how bad things are getting.
Exactly.
I mean, if they're coming up with laws to circumvent the Constitution? What's the point in having the Constitution or even having it on display, in Washington? Why not just burn the damn thing? And I know that sounds awful, but that's what it's coming to be. They're trying to go around all these constitutional rights so they can take it away from us.
Yeah.
That's why
RL says that he's not sure we have a favorable enough court that we'd win Second Amendment cases there, because Roberts isn't exactly pro-gun and neither is Kennedy. They're kind of in the middle. And maybe that's the thinking now that we have a Republican president who may be have another opportunity to appoint more conservative justices, that maybe they're waiting for a more solid makeup of the court to take these cases. That could be. I know that we even if the Donald does absolutely nothing else but appoint Supreme Court justices, I think it's a win for us long term, because anything that can't suit Patty would have appointed would have been horrible for the Second Amendment cause.
And
oh yeah, definitely.
Someone was asking what the hell I'm talking about. I'm talking about that we need to stay not extra vigilant. We need to be like the most extreme vigilant we've ever been. Now more than ever, we need to watch our representatives, our congressmen, like hawks. And if they do something that we don't like, we need to hound their ass until they realize they've done something wrong. Because that's the only way we're going to get anything that we want, is if we make their lives so damn miserable as being representatives that they'll either do what we want or they will resign.
Everybody should have their senators and Congress critters numbers on their contacts. I do. I call them frequently and vent my spleen and give my opinion of whatever particular topic is.
Call them, leave voicemails, write a letter, send an email, fax them, do everything.
Yep, that's the only way.
It is.
Because you best believe the other side's doing that too. And even if they're not doing it on a grassroots level, they're certainly doing it on an AstroTurf level.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go to their social media platforms. Stick your opinion right there so everybody can see it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because they can't delete it that quick. I'll tell you that. And Trump's learned that lesson real quick.
I mean, I tweet Trump once a week just to let him know that we're still watching.
Yeah, so do I.
That's the only way to get a hold of him, apparently. Because I've actually gotten a response back at least once or twice.
Yeah, but that's how I've gotten all my responses from my senators. I'll go on their Facebook or their Twitter or whatever, and I will plead my case to them. And then, the next couple of week or so, I'll get a letter in the mail or I'll get an email, because I always leave in my email. If you don't want to talk to me, at least give me some kind of notification that you're listening. Because if you're not, you got to understand, I got kids that are coming up to vote here soon in the next couple of years. I'm voting. I got family members that are voting, and you won't get those votes.
Well, speaking of kids coming up, there for a while, I was pretty depressed about the political prospects, because of what our newer generation might think. But more and more young people that are in that just coming to voting age range, or just have recently come to voting age range, they're getting kind of tired of this snowflake garbage.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm hearing more and more conservative thought and talk coming from these people. I find that encouraging.
Well, I pointed out to my kids. I said, "Look, you guys like to play all the cool video games. Look, they're trying to deem you people crazy." I said, "How do you think that makes me feel when I go out and try and buy a firearm and get put on a hold?" I said, "See, it might not be the same thing, but it's still on the same level. They're trying to make you not competent for some reason." I said, "You guys got to fight for your rights."
The one they're trying to take your rights away. 2,
Yeah.
trying to turn you video game players into criminals because you play video games.
Yeah.
3, they're trying to take away your rights to own the guns that are in those games that you play every day.
Exactly.
Because some of those guns you can actually own in real life if you want. Because it's your right as an American.
Right.
It's funny. My son and I were having this conversation today about that very thing. He was says he was looking at online at some of the guns that were in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, or no, not Call of Duty Ghosts. That's it. He's looking at some of the guns that were in Ghosts, and he was amazed that they actually exist. It's like, yeah, son, it didn't just create them.
Right.
Seldom do they come up with games in video games, the guns in video games that are made up. Most of them are based off of, even some of the fictional ones are based off of some guns that do exist. Now, if it's sci-fi, yeah, it's sci-fi. That's out the window. But you have the Desert Eagle. That was in video games, and that was made. And you have what's everyone's favorite? Everyone's favorite is the AK-47 in a lot of video games. I mean, I have an AK-47. Granted, it's an AMD variant, but I got to tell you, I like the AK. I like the AR-15, which is it's all we can get, but it's an AR-15. I love that gun.
RL says Call of Duty Ghosts. He's even self-promoting in video games now.
I know. I didn't want to make the joke, but you went out and did it. So. Well, that's what happens when you become a pecker-headed conspiracy theorist 2-bit content creator.
Yes.
The
Peckerwood.
Peckerwood, yeah, right. He's Redditing all over the place.
Does he? Outstanding.
I guess. No.
That's great, just to piss him off. All right. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, all the time I get in conversations with liberals and that guns save lives. Guns don't save lives. Well, I get tired of hearing that, so I'm going to start every week at least one, possibly more. Someone using a firearm absolutely did save a life. This from Jen Jakes did this article. It was on, I'm not sure. I don't know if it was Breitbart or not. Look it up. But anyway, it's up to you, New York. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think it is Breitbart. January 3rd says on Saturday, a North Carolina woman who had recently relocated to Brownsville, New York, shot her ex-boyfriend when he attempted to break into her apartment. 30-year-old Marlon Womack stormed the woman's apartment by kicking in the door, only to find her ready to defend herself with a .40 caliber handgun. The woman, identified as Tanya Wooten, took aim and shot Womack in the neck. Though the handgun was legal in North Carolina, she had not yet received a New York handgun permit for the weapon. In other words, while Womack, who is in stable condition at Brookdale Hospital, so could Wooten. Can you imagine facing charges for successfully defending your own life? It's like New York do to good citizens for doing what no police were around to do.
So in New York, you can't even have a handgun in your house without a permit?
Nope. You gotta have a license for every gun. Every gun you own, you have to have a license for.
Wow.
That's how bad it is.
I'm never going there. Ever.
I'm never going there either, even though I have family there.
Yeah. John Z, I wish you were on the panel right now. I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So when you get home, jump on the panel. I'd love to hear your opinion on this one. That's fine.
Oh, we gotta give a shout out to the Texas shooter too. Or the savior, the guy that shot the crazy guy.
Man,
that's my recommendation.
So many arguments on that one about guns not saving lives, and since himself, so he didn't really stop him. Come on, really? That's some mental gymnastics right there.
Well, that's somebody that's just blind to the facts.
Well, why let the facts get in the way of a good narrative, right?
Right.
At any rate, this article goes on to say that's what the police states like New York do to good citizens for doing what no police were around to do. The role of the government should be to help citizens do what they cannot do for themselves. Citizens have proven time and time again that we can and do defend ourselves and protect our loved ones. The Carry Reciprocity Act is to ensure citizens' rights do not end at any state line. While some supporters liken the legislation to driver's licenses, driving a car is a privilege. Arms is, just as it says, a constitutional right. Regardless of their support for this common sense legislation, citizens of New York need to rally behind Wooten and stand up for this woman who is undoubtedly still shaken from her traumatic experience. No woman, or citizen for that matter, should be punished for refusing to be a victim. As every and any concealed carry permit holder will tell you, we do not ever want to draw a weapon, but we stand ready to do so if the need should arise. No state line. I have to agree 100%. I think that one thing I might not have to agree with her with is about the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, because I don't believe there's a of states that make you get permits to own. Other issue entirely. That's not. I don't think that has anything to do with the reciprocity. I think that's BS in and of itself. I don't think you should have a permit to have a permit to own.
Well,
I
don't believe you should have if you read the Second Amendment, I don't believe you should have a permit just to conceal carry. But apparently, in states, you do.
It should be that the Second Amendment is our carry permit, and that's unfortunate. It's the same with the permit to own a firearm. It should be that the Second Amendment is our permit to own a firearm, but in some places it isn't, and those are the things that we have to work on. I think we need to adopt the anti-gunner strategy of incrementalism when it comes to getting that. Take a little bit here, move an inch down the road. Take a little bit there, move another couple inches down the road until eventually we get there. Because trust and believe, that's exactly what they've been doing over the years, and it's been working for them as our rights have slowly eroded.
Well, God bless her soul that she did that, but I wouldn't come out and say you're still distraught, because then they'll stick her in the loony bin and then deny her a right to have a gun.
That's a good point.
If we're going over that kind of territory.
Rich White says the second is his carry permit as long as he stays within West Virginia borders. Yeah, I hear you. I wish that Ohio would go that way before long. I'd probably still get a permit anyway, just for reciprocity's sake. Personal stuff passes, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to get at. In Indiana, they passed that law where, if you're getting battered or whatnot, they'll give you a 60-day grace period to carry a firearm without a permit. But yet, if Indiana had constitutional carry, you wouldn't even have had to make that law. You wouldn't even have had the time for it to sit on the floors and go through all these people's sayings about it. You don't even need that law if you just pass constitutional carry. That person that was battered would already have the right to own a firearm and wouldn't need a 60-day grace period.
Wow. Yeah. And we don't have constitutional carry or even open carry in South Carolina, because I guess they're worried that if they let us carry guns again, then we might, I don't know, secede from the union or something.
You don't have you have some mechanism by which you can get a concealed carry permit,
we can get concealed carries, and I say that jokingly, but we can carry our gun in our center console and in our glove box without a permit. So it's not that we're without guns or firearms, but it would be nice to be able to take it with us, and we are allowed to carry a firearm if we're going fishing or hunting too. So I mean, there is some.
Must be some mean fish.
Yeah, you can do that, but if you're not doing that and you're going somewhere where it doesn't prohibit firearms, but you feel that you need to protect yourself, the only way to do that is by having a concealed carry permit. Or hoping.
Don't you have like alligators too?
Hoping to God.
Don't you have alligators?
Yes, we do. Hoping to God that maybe there's a law enforcement officer around there to protect you, even though that's not really his job.
Well, there's case law that says that they don't have to.
Yeah. So,
John Z, good to see you. Glad you could join us.
And yes, we have alligators down here. So
that's right.
See, that's why I carry a gun.
I mean, I don't have any on my back property yet because if I did, then all right, I'd have some deep fried gator.
That'd be good.
I love gator. It's so good. I haven't had it in years since I lived in Georgia.
I like gator, but it's better deep fried. I'm telling you, because it's the South. We deep fry everything.
Gator nuggets.
So, John, are you familiar with the story we were just talking about?
I am.
What's your take?
Okay, so basically, New York State you're going to have issues if, God forbid, you should ever have to defend yourself. But that risk goes up 100 times more if, God forbid, you defend yourself within the 5 boroughs of New York City. You will get charged, no question about it. You will go to jail, no question about it. And then you will have to spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars defending yourself. That's the way the system in the city of New York has been created. They don't want you to defend yourself. They want you to take it like a man, woman, or male or female, and then worry about it later. But I'm glad the person who got theirs, and that the person who had to defend themselves, that she is where she is, alive and breathing.
Absolutely right. The old saw applies here. I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Amen, brother. Amen.
It's a shame that it has come to that in some places, where a basic natural right of being able to defend yourself and protect your life, protect yourself from harm, will get you punished. Exactly. I can't fathom that. I guess it's from having lived in an allegedly free state all my life. It boggles me. And I say allegedly because, well, there are arguments to be made anywhere.
Well, it all starts out where in the state of New York, you still pay heavy requirements in order to have your God-given right. But in the city of New York and other big cities around the country, they forcibly rob you. They legally forcibly rob you of your wallet, basically, in order to get those rights. So in some states,
and then just tell you no anyway.
Right. And that'll be highlighted in really big words. That part. You have the right to apply and file, and there's no guarantee you will get it. Those are in big words. Those are not small words. Those are big words on those forms.
Oh, wow. How nice of them.
Yeah. So, well, I guess for all the money you're paying them, they could afford the bigger funds. But yeah. Yeah, they will legally and forcibly rape you for your money for you to get your rights without the guarantee of getting those rights. So yeah, stay away from those big cities. They're politically controlled, don't forget.
Yeah. And what party controls those cities?
Dun dun dun.
I'll just leave that one unanswered. I think we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess I'll have to Google search.
Always says, "Show me a city or a state in decay, and I'll show you the city or state run by Democrats." And I have to agree with him.
Right on. That couldn't be more. That couldn't be more right on the nail.
A couple more people I want to give the self-defense shout out to, and unnamed, I think she's unnamed, yeah, an unnamed woman in Texas. As a matter of fact, a woman awakes to suspect standing by her bed, shoots him dead. A Houston, Texas woman who awoke to a suspect standing by her bed on New Year's Day, this is dated January 3rd, 2018, grabbed a gun and shot him dead. The incident occurred at Mirabella Apartments. The Houston Chronicle reports that the woman heard the sound of broken glass. When she looked up, she saw the suspect standing by her bed. He began to close in on her, so she grabbed her pistol and fired a shot, killing him. When police arrived, the woman told them she had seen the man hanging around the apartment complex as if he were casing the area. Police did not charge the woman in the suspect's death. Wow, what a contrast.
Thank God.
What a contrast between New York and Texas, isn't there?
Oh, two different countries.
Two different universes, apparently.
Definitely.
You know, in one place, someone gets jailed for and charged for defending herself simply because she didn't jump through their bureaucratic hoops. And in another, yep, okay, go ahead and clean it up, seems to be the answer. I think it's great on one hand that both these ladies are alive to tell the story. It's sad on the one hand that one gets to go on with her life as best she can after having to do something like that, and the other still has more trauma and tragedy to go through.
Oh, she's going to be going through it for a long time.
Sick.
A long time. And no one is advocating for any kind of loss of life. Nobody ever feels good about having to take another life, but when it comes down to it, you need to protect yourself. And if the other person is going to force it upon you, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yep. I need to, I feel that because you said that, I think I need to throw out this disclaimer here. When I'm, from now and until I decide to stop, every time I give out one of these self-defense shout-outs, it is not for the purpose of celebrating the death of somebody, even a scumbag criminal.
Correct.
That's not my point. My point is to celebrate the fact that a law-abiding citizen saved their life or the life of someone else and lives to go on with their life.
Right. The preservation of life is to be celebrated.
Absolutely. And that's what my purpose is here. It's not to celebrate the death of a criminal. It's to celebrate the life of a citizen and to point out the fact that their life was saved because they had the proper tools with which to do so.
And thank God for those localities and those cities and those states that allow people to do so.
Absolutely right. Got one more that I want to talk about. This is from KGW in Portland, Oregon. U-Haul employee shoots, kills armed robbery suspect. Man was shot and killed when he attempted to rob a Southeast Portland U-Haul store Wednesday night. The man, armed with a gun, entered the store on Powell Boulevard and demanded money, according to Portland police. The employee, also a man, shot the suspect while on U-Haul property, police said. The shooting was reported at around 7 p.m. Police have not yet determined whether the employee had a concealed carry permit. The suspect, who has not been identified, was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. The employee and two witnesses are cooperating with police. Investigators are collecting surveillance video of the shooting. So, good for him that he's around to be investigated.
What state was that in?
Oregon.
Yep.
Could you just go over that again one more time? I'm sorry.
He may, pardon me?
Could you just give me a quick synopsis of that again? I had to.
A U-Haul employee in Portland, Oregon, shot and killed a guy that came on the premises to try to rob him. It's not determined whether or not the employee had a concealed carry permit or not.
And what state was that?
In Oregon, in Portland.
Okay.
So he's still on the balancing edge. He may get charged, he may not, just based on where he is.
Yeah. With all the extra laws with the marijuana cards and stuff. So
yeah.
Hopefully he's not on that registry.
Yeah, because if he is, then he's automatically disbarred from having a firearm to begin with.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize you know, with the medical marijuana stuff, even if it's prescribed by a doctor, that's it. According to federal law, you're prohibited
And you know that's one thing states are
forever.
going to follow. They don't follow other things. They do go as they please when it comes to federal law if it suits their needs. For this, like this, for example, they will abuse that.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Oh yeah, go ahead and get here's your card, here's your card, here's your card. Oh, by the way, guess what?
exactly. I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and say he had something.
I hope he did.
He
I
had
hope
some
he
kind
did
of permit or
everything
whatever.
following the local law so that he
Because,
doesn't get.
well, I say because of his job. They do drug testing. So I'm guessing, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't have one. He didn't have a medical card, and that he was lawfully carrying.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
All right. Before we wind down and wrap it up, I do want to make kind of an announcement. Well, next Friday, the 12th, I'll be back and ready to do another episode of the show here. But on the 19th, the 26th, and February 2nd, I will not be. I'm going to have to take a break from this. Coming up on last year in 2017, I know I've mentioned it before, but on January 20th, my wife went to the hospital for a serious illness, and she's kind of been. We still don't know what's wrong with her. No, I'm not pregnant. Midnight Range. Jeez, I wish it was something like that. I'd make some money if I were pregnant. Anyway, she had a bad medical incident we're still dealing with. But 7 days later, on the 27th, our oldest daughter was killed in a car wreck.
Oh God!
Oh my
I'm
God!
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So over the next few weeks, I'm not really going to be in a place where I can do a live show. I'll still be doing produced content, I think, because I think I'll need the distraction. But I can edit that and get my breakdowns out of there. But over the next, like I said, the 19th and the 26th, I'm kind of going to be focusing on being home and dealing with that stuff. On the 2nd, me and some friends have rented a cabin. I'm going to get away for the weekend. So I'm not going to be available anywhere where there's internet service to do the show. But I will be back ready to, as I said before, back in the saddle and ready to ride on February 9th. Like I said, I'll still be putting out some produced content for those of you that watch that. But as far as the live stuff, if I do, it's only going to be a few minutes here or there. Just kind of a, not even approaching lawn chair chat status, but just kind of a, hey, yeah, I'm still live and whatnot. So
well, my thoughts and prayers go to you and your family.
Absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yes.
And your family.
It's something that I'm learning to deal with. And I'm not saying that I'm totally 100% okay and whatnot, because I'm not, obviously. But mostly I need to be around and focus on taking care of my wife as she goes and deals with this anniversary.
Absolutely. And I hope our thoughts and prayers are with her as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Recovery.
But I don't really want to make a big deal out of this, but I just thought you guys, hey, I'm not gonna be doing a show for 3 weeks, so here's why. don't run screaming and unsubscribe in droves.
Hey John, maybe we could do a hit or miss.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
Hey, whatever, dude. I don't care.
You're not going to be here anyway, so it doesn't matter.
During and all that, everybody's going to be at SHOT Show anyway, right? So,
that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope we get some live coverage.
Yeah, I know that I had I'd heard somebody talking about doing live shows there from SHOT Show from the hotels or whatever. I think that would be great. Sort of day by day coverage on what's going on and what they're experiencing.
I'd rather.
Hopefully next year, I want to try to be able to go myself next year, but just obviously because of everything that's happened right around that time, this year is completely out. There was no way in hell I was going to go anywhere.
Right.
What I think is cool is that if people do a live coverage from the show and try to cover as much as they can using a live format, it'll be better. And I think it's cooler because it's right then and there versus 18,000 videos throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so Clover, I know you're out there, take some notes, buddy. It'd be great. It'd be great to hear from you guys as kind of a ongoing coverage, man. That would be neat this year if you guys can swing it. I mean, if you can't, you can't. I know you're busy and whatnot. You're going to be doing things during that time, but that would really be cool for us who are kind of left behind and living vicariously through you. All right. I just want to go ahead and thank you guys on the panel for coming. I want to thank everybody out in the chats on the YouTube and Gun Channel sides, both places, for being there and being part of the conversation. I appreciate it every time that you guys are here. Night Strike, you have anything you want to add? Final thoughts? Anything you want to plug?
No, I'm not gonna. I don't need to plug anything. So, just remember, the only way we're going to win the fight against tyranny is to get out there and fight back.
Outstanding.
Whether that's protesting, whether that's contacting your legislator, your congressman, but get out there and do something to help us, stay in the fight. Otherwise, we might as well just give up and let them burn everything.
That's right. We're not going to get anywhere by going, well, somebody ought to do this. Somebody ought to do that. Damn it. You're somebody, ain't you? Get out there and do it. Roll call, you have anything to add?
No, just thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Well wishes to you and your family. Everybody stay warm. Build a fire, get a bucket, John Z, like over there in the movies, and start a fire on the street. Like I watched Rocky yesterday, and that'd be a good option. So, yeah, thank you, man.
All right, no problem, man. I'm glad to have you here. John, anything you want to put in there?
Yeah, sorry I was late. I was actually looking for parking, going around the block like 4,000 times, and then I saw the email, and someone must have heard you because they pulled out, and I was good to go. And thank you for the invite, and thank you everyone for listening and joining us today. And again, I want to wish you thoughts and prayers to you and your family, and that's it.
1 second, I'm typing.
Type slower.
Yeah, I got Yamil's email. He said he's sorry for not being able to join us today because his child turned 1 year old.
Oh, outstanding! No, that's. Hey, listen, I want to put it out there. Anytime
his grandson
can't make it, anytime that anybody can't make it, don't feel bad, man. You guys have, I'm sure all of you have more important things to do than this shit. So here I am breaking my own rules. So I shouldn't be cussing like that. You guys have more important things to do than this, and that's fine. Anytime anybody shows up on the panel, or anytime anybody shows up on the chat, I just see it as a gift, and I appreciate it as that. So, like I said, I'll be back next week, and then take a short break. So, until then, keep using the first to defend the second, everybody. Thanks.
Right on.
Have a good one.
Right on.